everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got a card tutorial for you and we're going to be making some quick and easy penguin cards for the holidays. I wanted to make some cards that would be good for everyone, but that would also really work well for men. I know masculine cards are kind of a struggle for some of us, so I thought these cute penguin cards in some darker colors would be really great to send to a guy. For the red card, I have a red cardstock base, just an 8.5 by 11 cut, scored, folded in half. I dug through my stash and found some great plaid paper that's red and white and black, and this has been cut to 5 1/4 by 4. For the white piece and the black mat behind it, I've taken 2 stitched rectangle dies from Stampin' Up, and I've gone ahead and cut out those pieces. These layer one slightly smaller than the other. For my blue card, I have a white cardstock base. I have a piece of dark teal blue cardstock that's been cut to 5 1/4 by 4. Again, I dug through my stash and found some blue and white polka dot paper. And this has been cut to 5 by 3 3/4. I have a piece of 110-pound weight white cardstock for stamping. I also have some more of that dark blue teal cardstock. One is going to be for embossing and the other is going to be for layering. And I'm using 2 oval stitch dies from Stampin' Up, and the larger one has been used to cut the dark blue teal cardstock. All the stamps I'm using today are from the Holiday Penguins stamp set from My Favorite Things. I absolutely love this stamp set. It's got such cute little penguins on it. We're going to be using 3 of them today and 2 of the sentiments. I've stamped my images onto 110-pound weight white cardstock with black memento ink, and I'm using my favorite alcohol base markers, the tri-blend markers. These markers have 3 shades of the same color in one marker. I have lots of videos on my channel. If you're not familiar with these, be sure to check them out. I'm coloring all 3 of my penguins in the exact same way with the Ice Gray Blend Tri-Blend marker. I'm going to do 1 penguin just to show you how I've done everything, and then I'll go ahead and finish off the other 3. I first completely filled in all the areas that I would like with the lightest shade of the marker. I've now added some shade and shadowing with the darkest tone. I'm going to go in with the medium tone and kind of over color between the lightest and the darkest shades. Then I'm going to go back in with the lightest shade and blend that all in together. So for this first layer, I've used the bullet tip marker, and it wasn't exactly as dark enough as I wanted for the penguin. So I grabbed my Ice Gray Blend marker in the brush tip, which has slightly darker tones in it. And I'm using the darkest shade just to add a little bit of really dark gray, almost black, to the penguin. And I know at first that looks really harsh, but I'm going to go back to the lightest shade of the bullet tip in the same Ice Gray Blend, and I'm really going to blend that in. When you use a really light shade with a darker shade, you can really soften up that color and blend it out, but still get a lot of that deep tone in there. And that's one of the things I really like about the brush and bullet tip markers on the tri-blends is that they, even though the color name of the marker might be the same, they might have different shades. So you really get a lot of color variation. And if you want to, you can go in with that medium tone and just to kind of continue to build up that color until it's as dark or light or blended out as you would like. When you're happy with the way that your penguin looks, I'm going back to the bullet tip of the same marker, and I'm going to trace around the inside of the white belly and the face. It just gives a little bit more shading and shadowing and definition to those white areas so that they're not completely stark white without any color on them. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to my other 2 penguins. So here are all 3 of the bodies of my penguins colored in the exact same way. I'm using the same marker for the package that the one little penguin is holding. So I'm going to avoid the ribbon and color the rest in with the lightest shade of that same ice gray blend that we used for the penguins. Just want everything to be monochromatic and really quick and easy coloring. With the lightest shade laid down, I'm going to go in and add some shading and shadowing up at the top and the bottom of the package with this darkest shade. Also add a few little lines along the ribbon in the corner of the box. And this time I'm going to skip the medium tone and just go back in with the lightest shade and blend that in together. That's just going to give me a little bit more definition on the shadowing. For their little feet and beaks, I'm going to be using the brush tip marker in Burnt Orange Blend. And I'm just going to be using the lightest in the medium shade. The dark was just a little bit too dark for me. So with the lightest shade laid down, I'm going to go in with that medium and add just a little bit of shadow. I'm not even going to worry about blending that out. It's such a tiny little area. I wanted each of my penguins to have some cute little cheeks, so I'm taking the darkest shade of Pale Pink Blend and the bullet tip and just giving them some cute little circle cheeks. For the two penguins, I'm going to be coloring in their Santa hats with Dark Red Blend. So I'm taking the lightest shade and filling those in. And then on every other stripe of that tiny little candy cane, I'm going to color that in as well. I'm going to add a little shading and shadowing with the darkest shade. Overcolor just a little bit with that medium red and blend it out with the lightest shade. For the bow on the package, I'm using blue turquoise. I'm gonna fill that in with the lightest shade. I'm gonna take the darkest shade and add some shading and shadowing just like I did with the gray, kind of in the same areas. And also in the parts of the bow that are kind of closest to the package. I've skipped the medium tone and I'm just going back in with the lightest shade just to kind of blend that out a little bit. And I'm doing the same thing on his little earmuff. To add just a little bit of some texture in the scene, I'm taking the lightest shade of the ice gray blend that we used for the penguins' bodies, and I'm just going to make some little of half moon shapes under the penguins so it sort of looks like they're walking through the snow. I'm going to take the same marker with the tip and just touch it around for a little bit of falling snow. And I'm doing that around both the penguin scenes. So I'd already die cut this panel out with my stitched rectangle. Now I'm going to place the smaller of the two ovals where I would like it and tape it in place with some washi tape, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. I'm also going to take my scissors and cut out my little candy cane. And with these pieces cut out, I'm going to set this aside. And now I'm ready to emboss. I'm using my embossing powder tool to add some powder to my pieces. Using clear Versamark ink, I'm going to stamp the You Make Everyday Jolly along the top edge of the black piece. Going to pour on white embossing powder and tap off the excess. I'm stamping the other sentiment on the teal cardstock, and I'm also going to pour on white embossing powder. And then I'm going to heat both of these with my heat gun. And now I've got that nice bright white embossing on the dark cardstock. I'm going to take another stitched rectangle die and center that over my sentiment and run that through my die cutting machine. And now I'm ready to start assembling my cards. I'm going to place the plaid paper on my red cardstock base with regular adhesive. I've got this really pretty ribbon that's kind of got some gold and red in it. I'm going to slip that inside the card. And I'm going to pull those edges around to the front. I've kind of got that centered on the card. And then I'm going to take some just regular Scotch tape and tape those in place. And those ends will be covered by my images in the center. I've placed adhesive on the back of the two penguins. I'm going to place that over top of the black. I've placed some foam squares on the back of that piece. And I'm going to center that on my card. I've placed a little bit of glue pen on the back of the candy cane. I'm going to place that in that penguin's hand. And for just a sec, I'm going to set that aside. For the blue card, I'm going to place the teal cardstock onto the white cardstock base. Then I'm going to center the pattern paper over top of that. I'm going to adhere my penguin onto the teal oval. On the back of the sentiment, I just have regular adhesive. I'm going to put that on the card. I've got foam tape on the back of that oval. I'm going to place that on my card front. I've got a tiny little strip of silver ribbon. I'm going to tie that into a bow. So with my little bow tied on, I've placed a small glue dot on the back. I'm going to put that at the top of my ovals. I wanted to add some dimension and shine to my cards, so I'm using some Stays On Studio Glaze. This is their white. And even though I'm placing this on white, it will still give me like a nice raised area, and it'll be really pretty and glossy. So I'm going to do the tops of the penguins' hats, the little pom-pom, and also the brim. And then I'm going to add just a little dot of the white here and there around with the little gray dots. And it'll just give some nice dimension of some snow. And this will take a little while to dry. So I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but when that dries, it's going to be nice and glossy and give some really great extra dimension. And so here's our finished cards. I think these are both really quick and easy. You could sit down and make quite a few of them at once. I've kept the coloring and the design really simple. And I also think if you have some men on your Christmas card list, these would be perfect cards to send to guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this card tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out my channel and subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!